女士们、先生们，有请美国消费技术协会总裁兼首席执行官盖瑞·夏佩罗先生。Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gary Shapiro, President and CEO, Consumer Technology Association.
大家好，欢迎光临 CES Asia. CES Asia is the premier event for the Asian consumer technology market. It's the launch pad for new Asian innovations and new technology across the globe. We are so grateful to the city of Shanghai, the Pudong government, and our partner, Intex. The Consumer Technology Association owns and produces CES in Las Vegas, which is the world's largest business, innovation, and technology event. And we're proud to bring the entire tech ecosystem together this week here in Shanghai. This year marks the 5th anniversary of one of the fastest growing shows in all of Asia. And I'm thrilled to announce that this is our biggest show in China yet. It brings together more than 550 companies, which is a 159% increase over our first show. And it has more than 50,000 attendees, a 74% increase over our first show. And every major industry is represented here across 20 different product categories. You'll see the latest in 5G, artificial intelligence, AR, VR, vehicle tech, the future of fashion, startups from around the world, and so much more. You'll experience these technologies for yourself and witness how they will impact tomorrow's business decisions. You can ride in self-driving and electric vehicles in halls N4 and N5, test the latest in VR technology, and see AI action in hall N3. And to add to the excitement, you'll hear from global leaders from 4 countries with keynotes from Audi, Horizon Robotics, Huawei, Hyundai, and Wacom. And you'll also hear a keynote panel on tech innovation in travel and tourism. With more than 7,500 senior executives and over 10,000 representatives from buying organizations, companies are here to form partnerships across industries and even across borders. Because this is where industry leaders and rising stars come together. It's where investors grow their portfolios, and it's where deals are made. CES Asia showcases innovation from China, but also from more than 75 other countries, regions, and territories. It's more than a traditional buyer-seller trade show. We have companies of all sizes from all over, launching products, building brands, and collaborating. In fact, our expanded startup park has more than 115 startups from 7 countries, regions, and territories. We also have pavilions for countries and regions including China, Hong Kong, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Norway. Startups participate in these pavilions because they understand the opportunity here in Asia, as well as the benefits of CES Asia to help them meet partners, investors, and global media. It's a chance to build strong business relationships with new and existing companies and industries in China and beyond. The innovations you'll see on the show floor create disruption, but they also provide important, life-changing solutions. Self-driving vehicles are a great example. They can prevent countless traffic fatalities on roads and highways around the world that are caused by human error. And this afternoon, actually, you'll hear from Hyundai and Audi's vision of the self-driving future. Artificial intelligence. It's keeping us safer and healthier, helping us devise the latest treatments and cures. 5G, so important. It's the next generation of wireless connectivity. It will power the technologies of the future with faster speeds and lower latency. You'll see 5G hardware this week and 5G-enabled tech. All these technologies are helping us be healthier, safer, more productive, and more connected lives. But as these technologies connect us, people, economies, and countries, we do face challenges. And in an era of global connectivity, free trade, and borderless commerce, siloing innovation with tariffs causes global economic uncertainty. No matter where you live, tariffs are taxes. Simply put, a trade war is bad for every country involved. There's an old saying, when elephants fight, the ground gets trampled, everyone loses. So we try to focus on what unites us rather than what divides us. Indeed, technology unites us, and with new technologies like AI and 5G and a tech-savvy population, China is positioning itself as a world leader. It's one of the reasons we chose China each year to host this global event. And the larger Asian market, present here at the show, is leading in innovations too. Developments are underway here in Asia to roll out early 5G networks by 2020, and in some cases even sooner, such as here in China. Artificial intelligence is another critical key ingredient for technology, and it's a global trend transitioning us into the data age. Here at CES Asia, you'll hear from companies using AI innovations to develop and market new products and services. Globally, we stand at the very edge of great change, and we must embrace these opportunities, like this event, to unite around our shared promise of a better future for everyone. I hope you join us on this journey, because over the next few days, I encourage you to explore the show floor and witness the power of technology firsthand. The future is here, and I urge all of us to work together to see the show and make the most of this incredible opportunity. And now, I have a great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, a colleague, a business partner, Mr. James Wu from CES Asia, the co-producer, Shanghai Intex Exhibition Company Limited, to introduce our keynote speaker. Thanks to Shanghai Intex, with its strong local support, CES Asia has been growing successfully for the past 5 years. James Wu, General Manager of Intex Shanghai, is a visionary leader, an exhibition industry pioneer, and I'm thrilled to hear from him today. Please join me in welcoming James Wu to the CES stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Actually, the honor is ours. It's a great privilege for Intex to cooperate with Gary, with CTA, to bring the best technology show into Shanghai. So good morning and welcome to CES Asia. It is a great honor to introduce you to our first keynote of the show, set to amaze you with a captivating glimpse into Huawei's progress and plans for the future in the field of artificial intelligence. Mr. Shao Yang, Huawei's Chief Strategic Officer and Vice President of Huawei Consumer Business Group, first joined the company as engineer in wireless technology in 1998 and has unique experience at the leading edge of recent advances in technology across multiple industries. A world leader in telecommunications technology, Huawei is a distinctly innovative and renowned Chinese brand that is in the progress of revolutionizing the mobile industry. And I'm thrilled that Mr. Shao is going to share Huawei's future strategy with us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming him to the stage.
Thanks, James. Yeah. It's my great honor to be here to attend the CES Asia and Max's keynote. It's the first keynote, so I feel it's very lucky. And because today I will introduce Huawei's consumer BG strategy, and it's very important, and I try to make it clear. So I will speak in Chinese. And for the foreign friends, please use the translator. It will be more easier. So later I will speak in Chinese. 大家好，我叫邵阳，来自华为消费者业务，负责的是消费者业务的战略工作。
Consumer group, I'm in charge of strategy in this business group. I've joined Huawei for 21 years. For 13 years, I've involved in the development of mobile networks, especially what we are concerned with 5G. And in the rest of the years, I'm in charge of the consumer business. In the first 3 years, in the latter part of my career, I'm in charge of branding. I was in charge of branding. And in the rest of the second phase, I was in charge of strategy, aligning ourselves with the trends out there in the market. Today, I will talk about how we can embrace the historic opportunities by developing intelligence in all scenarios, which is something very important. Before that, I want to say, maybe you are focused on the technologies and products of Huawei, and on the other hand, you want to know more about how we are faring recently. This is what I care about also. In the first 13 years in Huawei, I have been very quiet in my life. Little friend knew what I was doing, like base station, like MSC, so on and so forth. They didn't know, so they didn't care. They asked me, what company are you working at? I said, Huawei. What's Huawei? I said, we provide services like base stations and other communication services to the world. They didn't know, so they stopped asking. In the past 8 years, I was involved in consumer business. But all of a sudden, I began very busy. People kept looking for me in order to buy the newest of Huawei's products, in order to solve the technical issues of Huawei phones, of feeding to me their concerns about Huawei. So more often than not, more often than before, I received inquiries and requests from my friends. And in the recent 20 days, I've been asked, are you good? Are you under huge pressure? Please pay attention to your health, okay? So many cares from my friends. So I feel very complicated because I don't know how to answer these questions. I don't know if they believe in what I tell them in reply. Until one day, I took notice of the quote by Mr. Ren Zhengfei, the head of Huawei. He said, this is not the most dangerous time of Huawei. In reverse, this is the best times for Huawei. This is a quote that he gave receiving interview from CCTV. This quote best illustrates the complicated mood that I have here. I still remember when I joined Huawei in 1998, when we were doing wireless technologies. And there was a banner at the entrance of the company saying, we will stand among the best of communication technologies with our efforts. We started in 1998 with this technology. We didn't have a perfect product portfolio. There were a lot of bugs, and the competitors included Ericsson, Siemens, Motorola, Langson, Beidian, and other 7 giants that faced us at that time. We had to rely on our own efforts and endeavors to try to catch up with them and even surpass them, outcompeting them at the end of the day. However, I enjoyed myself because I saw progress day in, day out, and every work provided improvements to our consumers and clients. And I feel that I'm back to that period of time. I still remember that last week when I had a meeting all the way till 10 p.m. And then I went out to the office area of my strategy department, and I saw a lot of people overworking, working till then. I asked them, why don't you go home? There are a lot of old colleagues in my department. Most of them have worked till they are more than 40 years old, though most of the people can retire because they can reach financial freedom after 45. I asked them, why don't they go home? They said that there are still some thing undone. And I feel myself back in 20 years ago, because back then we were in the same situation, because back then 10 p.m. was the earliest time that we could leave the lab, but it was not that they left their office after 10 p.m. They were reluctant because there were still outstanding bugs to be solved. Maybe in the quietude of night, it was more opportune to solve these issues.
So my colleagues were very happy working up in the midnight, and the other day in the early morning people felt very happy again because the bugs were addressed. Then why not take a photo of everybody in my team? So this is a photo of our colleagues, and they have their families, friends, and partners right in their daily life. So this is their current state. They're fine. Right now we're dedicated to building an even better world with connectivity. This is a starting point for our strategic pondering. What is it, a better world that we need to act to build? So right now, what is the current status of our business? We have two business lines. First, ICT, mainly for network construction and telecommunication connectivity, like the 5G. So lately, I'm sure you're exposed to a ton of knowledge regarding 5G. Second business area we cover is the consumer business, like the handsets, the tablets, computers, and wristbands, etc. So through those devices that we can actually, use those electronics on a daily basis. So starting from 2011, we launched our consumer business group. I was a pleasure, honored to be a part of this journey. Our growth is really amazing. As of Q1 this year, we have become like the second largest company in terms of the sales in this regard. And by Q4, we would have been number one in the world, but now we have to wait a little bit longer to achieve that. Right now, cumulatively, our global user base for terminal devices is 500 million, meaning 500 million users that are using our consumer electronics products right now. This is no easy job. In the past journey, I spent a couple of years on branding and 4 years on strategy. As I began the branding work, I found it was hard to get the buy-in from consumers and other stakeholders on our handsets. When it comes to within Huawei, it is even hard for you to get the buy-in from the Huawei staff and employees for the quality level of the handsets, because they were using the products produced by Apple, Samsung, HTC, etc. They thought that the Huawei phones were not very elegantly designed. So they were quite used to bring with them two mobile phones. From inside the company, they showed their Huawei phone. When they were having fun outside of the company, they showed the Apple phone. So we received some complaints about the poor quality of our mobile phones in the past. That was not very good for branding if the quality of the products was poor. So I was responsible for branding. I was feeling under tremendous pressure. But I think brand stems from great consumer experience by virtue of innovation. So we are acting along that line exactly. You may be familiar with the journey of the development in our development story of our mobile phone business. Every year, we're going out for innovation around mobile phone business. For example, lightweight design, we took the lead in bringing in the dual camera fingerprinting feature, and we work with Leica to better the quality of the camera, and we work with a Porsche design to create additional value. And through Mate 10, we bring in the first AI chip of its kind, P20, with 3 cameras. Mate 20, we have dual AI chips. For P30, we have 4 cameras. And then also those foldable screens that we have launched. So seemingly, those are only some of the transformation we made in terms of exterior look and specs. But from behind the scene, we act and work hard in terms of algorithm, software, hardware, the heat dissipation, and the configuration optimization, so on and so forth. A lot of the work behind the scene, it really takes a long journey to make it happen. So thanks to the collective efforts of our engineer team, and we gradually get more buy-in from the consumers. So for mobile phone, you may be thinking, is it the same business as the PC business? The answer is sure, there is difference. But the key of our mobile phone is processor. Throughout the years in the past, we have been developing the processor technology so along. Why? Huawei network communication technology is a world leader. It is by and large due to our high silicon semiconductor. If you look at our switch, as well as the routers and the base station and others, and we adopt the high silicon semiconductor chips. So for our mobile phone business, we begin to think about how can we translate our semiconductor capacity and the capabilities into mobile phone chips. So earlier on, we started the Curing Qilin R&D. The Curing R&D journey is a treacherous path. For each step of the way, there were complaints that we heard. I still remember back in 2012, we launched a mobile phone called Huawei Ascend D1, the D series. Our definition on the D series was it was the highest end in our portfolio, followed by P series, then followed by G series, then by Y series. For P series, I'm sure you're familiar with that series, but D is positioned at a higher end than that one. So D series, the first product, we call it by the name of a D1. The first product in that series, the K3V2 Kirin chip, was featured in that product, but it was really suffering because, as we know, power consumption performance was poor, meaning we have to increase the battery size. So based on the design thickness of the handset, we have to add in a couple of more millimeters, so it looked clumsy and ugly. So the D1 handset, the sales volume was only 20,000 units. That was really poor, because now on a daily basis we have been selling 400,000, 500,000, or even 600,000 units every day now. So the Gen 1 chip, think about it, it was validated on the mobile phones, and we heard those complaints. Then we marched onto K3V3 on top of the D2 series. For D2 series, the sales performance was slightly better. We sold 50,000 units. However, we still heard complaints about the poor heat dissipation performance, and it was not very good if you play games on that mobile phone. So after these kind of difficulties we faced, our original thought was D like diamond, like P for platinum, the D for diamond, which was the highest end in our portfolio. However, that brand image was destroyed by these two poor performing chips. Now the D series is gone. It was sacrificed in order for the future rise of a high silicon. But after 2 generations of verification, in June 2013, we put it onto a key product under P series, namely P6, which is a huge success. So based on the prior experiences, the P product is good performing, power consumption level reached a high level. So we sold over 6 million units of a P6. Ever since, our mobile phone business began to take off with continuous progress, like 10, 920, and 950 on top of 16 nanometer. And we add in the safety chip for 960 and an AI chip added to 970 with 10 nanometer process, and then dual NPU for 980 on top of a 7 nanometer path. This is the world leading. If you use our mobile phone, it is very fluent and it is really one of the best in class. Then gradually we're accumulating our experiences over time. So the chip is like the powerful heart for our products. The next, if you look at Android, this is another very complex issue. How many lines of codes for Android? Over 250 million lines of code for Android. If you're an engineer, you know what I mean. This is gigantic. For extraordinary engineer, the monthly output is only 10 million or 20 million lines of quality codes, which are able to be commercially adaptable. then this system, it takes over 250 million lines of code. But the beauty of Android, it is open source. It is customizable OS, but the downside of it is fragmented. It is hard for you to control it. Therefore, our objective is to create a secure, pure, and intelligent Android system. So we are working hard in terms of innovation. We contribute to Android and Google all along. Together, we're making continuous improvement. Therefore, along the development journey of Android, our EMUI OS is one of the leaders within the Android camp. So the milestone product we launched is the 5.0, and we made a promise. You could use the EMUI without any, let's say, getting stuck in the performance or fluency for 18 months in a row. Starting from EMUI 5.0, those kind of getting stuck problems, they're gone. So you can use it with fluency continuously for 18 months. With Mate 9, starting with EMUI 8.0, we made improvement on top of AI. The AI adapted into photo taking, file management, and the photo album, etc. Then for Mate 20, we further enhanced our AI. Then we further optimized the Android-based OS system. There is a organization, the Lumeng organization, that feature the key internet companies from China. So we do not take liberties in gaining access from users. For example, if you do not need those kind of feature, then you do not grab access from users. Our goal is to minimize the access gleaning from users. So through that process, the developers can use caution in accessing user information. Therefore, it enables secure utilization on the part of the users. In the meantime, we continuously discover huge pain points on the part of users. Then we try to improve the experience. For example, how can we enable fluency of the operational experience? For a game playing, we redevelop like the engine for the image. Then we launched GPU Turbo. So with GPU Turbo, it enables wonderful game playing performance. Then Link Turbo. But sometimes, if you look at 4G network, it is wonderful, but Wi-Fi not that good. Sometimes it is the other way around. But the users have to switch between the 4G network and the Wi-Fi. Then that really jeopardizes their experience. But the beauty of Link Turbo is you can have a fusion between 4G and a Wi-Fi. If the 4G performance is going down, then it can automatically switch to Wi-Fi. So this April, as we launched P30, there are two things that are very important. First, EROFS Super File System. This is a disruption to the bottom layer file operational system for Android. It makes the whole system more efficient. Then we also launched the Huawei Arc Compiler. This is an improvement of the compilation mode for Huawei. So the Arc Compiler we've launched, this is a huge kind of a boost to the whole system. So the things I mentioned, those are pretty much things we've already done. But what matters more is we've got to ponder what we need to do going forward. Right now, the global device industry is actually in the middle of, let's say, the dawn for new transformation. The mobile phone business represents a very important industry. If you look at auto industry, the total pie is 2 trillion, and then the mobile phone business worth like $400 billion US. So this is the second largest terminal device industry in the world, following automobile industry. Therefore, it is a very important industry, and there is a cyclicality nature. Every 12 years there is a transformation. Back then there was Motorola launched analog phone. Then later on, Nokia launched the digital mode phone. Then in 2007, Apple Corporation launched a smartphone. So according to this pattern and a cycle, this year represents another starting point for a new cycle after 12 years since the launch of a smartphone by Apple. So going forward, there will be more disruption to the previous generations of mobile phones. So those are some key points for thought. The cyclicality, people never thought about those possibilities for this kind of a cycle nature. People thought the previous phones were good enough. Why? We need a new generation.
So what's this industry like? How do we receive information nowadays? These are the two critical questions. The chart in the middle is the current value chain. It is a vertical chimney-like value chain. This is our phone, this is our vehicle, this is our computer, and this is the TV that we have in our homes. There are two features in this chart. First is it's vertical. For example, we have iOS or Android running on the phone powered by high silicon or Qualcomm or MTK's chipsets. And then on top of that, we have apps. So this ecosystem is designed for mobile phones. But in the ecosystem of vehicles, it maybe uses Linux operation system, NXP, so on and so forth. And then it uses Windows and all the other applications developed by the SDK of Microsoft Windows. And so is the case for the TVs. So from the chips to the hardware to the devices to the applications, everything is vertical and varying silos. They're not related to each other. This is the first feature. And the second feature is that the development of mobile phones has been leading many other devices. Even if we run a car worthy of 1 million RMB, we still use mobile phones for listening to the music, for navigation, for other infotainment. In our offices, even if we have such a large form factor computer, we still send messages through mobile phones, receiving emails via mobile phones, and or even reserving meetings through mobile phones. For TVs, in a latest interview about what is the useless appliance at home, people's reply is TVs, because nobody's watching TV nowadays. People say that TV is prepared for those that are that are below 6 years old. So that means that the development of mobile phones is far ahead of the other devices. What are the opportunities embedded in these current times, embedded in these two features? Now, a new force is in the horizon, that is AI. AI changes the way people interact with devices. It completely changes the way information is fed to the people. With AI, these chimneys can be brought together to form two planes. The first plane is the plane of devices. We think that there will be structural devices working in different scenarios. On top of that, all these services can be operated by all these devices, and AI is the glue that connects them together. This is how Huawei thinks about how we can go about developing our strategy. What will be the architecture? We believe that there will be this structure centered around mobile phones, and AI is the engine empowering these two planes, one for hardware, one for services. And all the services can be atomized. Now, the services that we have access to are more like molecular services. What do I mean? If I want to order for food delivery, I need to go to an app, open this app, and then find the food or find the meal that I want to be delivered to my doorstep. And something that I want to do should be an atom, but I want to open a molecule that is an app in order to access this atom. But in the future, all the services will be demolecularized and atomized instead. And this is the structural plane of the devices. We call it in architecture 1 + 8 + n. 1 is mobile phone, though the mobile phone may not look like the phones that we have nowadays. However, this something that goes with us every day is called 1, if we still call it a mobile phone. Name doesn't matter. On that basis, we have 8 other access points. If mobile phone is 1 access point, then there are 8 supporting access points. They are tablets, PC, vehicle machines, and TVs. These are the 4 big screens serving as supporting access points. There are also 4 smaller factors like speakers, watches, earphones, and glasses. So in total, 8 supporting access points. And to some extent, they will enhance the experience of mobile phones. And the reason why we call them access points is because we interact with them. And the interaction with them will be able to carry all the information and support the operation of all these devices. Yet there are many IoT devices in all the scenarios that we're talking about, like white appliances, like smart devices, like security devices, lighting, so on and so forth. And in offices, we have scanners, projectors, printers, the list goes on. In the vehicles, we have a multitude of stuff, like our air cons, like windows, like doors, like lights, so on and so forth. So we call this third layer, the N layer, the IoT layer. Mobile phone is the thread that connects all of them. With one account, services can be accessed via mobile phone, and mobile phone becomes the central node of everything. And for all the 8 access points, they have their own characteristics. They are just like the 8 traditional famous deities in China. They work their own magics, and they have their own advantages. For example, they have maybe watch has the advantage of convenience that is more than mobile phones. For example, TV has a bigger form factor than mobile phones. So everything has their own advantage compared with mobile phones, as well as disadvantages, because they all have their flaws or shortbacks. For TVs, you can watch it, yet you have to sit several meters away from it, and you can't touch it. For example, if you sit in the vehicle, since you're driving a car, you can't just fumble around. You have to care about safety, so you can't have access randomly, anytime, anywhere when you sit in a vehicle, like mobile phone. For earphone, you can't see stuff. So how do you support services? Only in the form of audio. So all these 8 access points have their own characteristics in the form of advantages and disadvantages. So how do we align 1, 8, and n? Let's start from the first point. How does the 1, the mobile phone, evolve to be aligned and connected with all the 8 supporting access points? There are many scenarios in which it can happen. For example, in vehicles, for example, we've already got demos working with Volvo. We're also working with Audi and BMW on that. We're working with more than 10 OEMs in China for that. In one word, the cooperation is all about making sure that with a mobile phone in the pocket of the driver doesn't need to generate the phone from the pocket when driving the car and accessing all the services. For example, in a car, it has bigger speakers, more capable speakers. The screens in the vehicles are greater, and the GPS on board the vehicle is better. All these stuff are better. their mobile phones, and they are fully in the position to replace the capabilities of mobile phones in these aspects. So the cooperation is about a virtual platform of the hardware. It is by installing this virtual platform embedded in this hardware device that all the equipment in the vehicle, onboard a vehicle, can become the access points, can become the interaction forms, though all the information flows come through the mobile phones, though the mobile phone can be placed anywhere, everywhere on the mobile phone, but you can access the services more capably empowered by the vehicles and by the machines and hardware on the vehicles. So, as I said, apps may not be fit for the hardware on the vehicles. Many services that can be realized on board in a vehicle can be atomized so that your mobile phones work silently and you only interact with the hardware in a vehicle. Though, granted, a lot of vehicles are becoming mobile phones nowadays, yet there are challenges in that regard because the speed is different. The speed of iteration, for example, for a screen, for a speaker in a vehicle, don't need to change every 10 years. However, what about the CPUs? What about the chips? The chips change every year, and our mobile phones change every 18 to 20 months. That means after 18 to 20 months, our mobile phones cannot meet the capacities required by the apps, so you need to buy a new phone. But what about the vehicles? People say that we can make it modular. Sometimes they say that we can make it plug-in. Yet a huge level of complexity is introduced in it. But by connecting the mobile phones with the vehicles, every element in this chain can play their biggest part. And the second scenario is home. TV is something that we rarely switch on nowadays. But for TVs, there are three directions for improvement. We plan to work on all three directions. These are the things that not just Huawei, but also all the other TV manufacturers can do that. And that is why we are talking about that with the major TV manufacturers. So the first improvement is that the TVs need to become natural interactive devices. That means that the TVs need to pick up the voices of the watchers, and TVs need to be equipped with cameras, which will be important for TVs in the future, I believe, because the TVs will by that understand who are sitting in front of them and then what sort of gestures they are making. So the first step towards that direction is to consign the remote controllers to the bin and make the TVs interactive devices. The second improvement is close connection with mobile phones. It's close to the MSTP layer that I talked about. For example, if it is a TCL TV or Changhong TV with this MSTP layer, then connection with the mobile phones can happen. So that when you arrive at home, when you're in the bedroom, you can just place the mobile phone, no matter where it is, when you access services by the TVs, be it watching the TV, social, looking at your calendar, reserving food, ordering food delivery. That is to say, you can just transplant all that was enabled by telephones onto TVs. Because TVs have bigger displays and has audio capabilities, you can read, you can watch on TV, which have bigger displays than mobile phones, which is an advantage for TV. And the only thing we need to do is to make it more convenient. So closer proximity and intimacy with mobile phones. That's the second improvement.
Seamless connection between mobile phone and TV. For example, it is very easy for you to connect those images and animations between handsets and between mobile phone and TV. With that realized, then we think that there is going to be the true fusion between mobile phones and a TV. This is the second step. Then what about the third step? That is the IoT in a smart home, in a smart furniture. TV represents a wonderful home command center. So as a command center for your home, say, when a door access alarm sounds, then on your TV screen, it will display to you who is standing in front of your doorsteps. Or in case you want to know about information of the aircon temperatures in your different rooms, the TV screen can show you which aircon in which room is on and which other aircon is off. So with fusion between mobile TV and IoT, it can serve as a wonderful command center. So natural interaction and a seamless connection with a mobile phone. Third, IoT control. When we combine the three features, it is believed TV will transform from currently being neglected into a center going forward for a home, no matter whether it is a multi-member family or just you alone living there. We are going to have more TV sets not only installed in your living room, but also in your cafeteria, as well as your bathroom, so on and so forth. So with that kind of a home-based scenario, the mobile phone-based experience can be transplanted to other devices. We have a lot more examples like that. For example, we can enable better connection between mobile phone and PC. So 1+8, one main portal with 8 auxiliary access points. Once we have the 1+8 set up, how can we connect all that we have with IoT? From inside our industry, there were a lot of discussions already. For instance, how can we make devices more intelligent? How can we deploy AI to control those intelligent devices? So first, how can we enable interconnection among devices? On that point, it is an interesting topic. Which year are we in? This year is 2019. But 20 years ago marked a beginning for the concept of a smart home. It was back in 1999 the Venus campaign was launched by Microsoft, mentioning the concept of a digital home, picturing a scenario where everything, including TV, would be digitalized. But 20 years later, there is nothing substantively that has been changed. It is remaining being a concept. So what is the problem? Because behind all this is very complicated interests involved, and there is also a very complicated technical challenge. It is very hard for us to land the concept in reality, the concept of smart home. Home is different because at your home you may have dozens of brands, those devices. For example, there are TV sets, there are like the Roomba, there are those curtains, there are air cons, HVAC, and lighting systems, multiple brands. So those different branded products are silos. There isn't a universal language to connect the dots. So there wasn't any single brand that was trying to think about universalizing the language for communication across the board, because different brands or competitors, right, they are not willing to speak everybody else's language. They prefer their local dialect. So whether, we can develop some universal language. So different household appliance manufacturers developed their own app, but 20 brands at your home, right? 20 apps, according to a survey. The big challenge for one app to survive on your mobile phone. If there are some, kind of an app you do not really use on a frequent basis, you prefer to delete it, right? So the household appliance manufacturers are working very hard. Some of their efforts are very interesting and it makes sense. Now we also have the channel distributors who are trying to make breakthrough as well. Say, if it's a hypermarket selling household appliances, they find it is hard to universalize the language for communications across different devices. If there is some language issue as shackles, as a supermarket, some of the branded names may not be able to enter into their retail space. The real estate developers are working hard, trying to break the silos. For a well-renowned real estate developer in China, they have a team called Smart Home Team. So they try to connect the dots and connect those siloed devices. They try their best to connect across the board those different siloed devices. So everybody is working hard along this line, just try to make your home more smart. So what is our efforts? On December 12th, 2015, we had the Fan Follower Festival when we launched the High-Link Smart Home solution. We aimed to address the pain points facing the whole industry by collaborating with our partners. So 3.5 years later, in today, we aim to upgrade that initiative. We have already gained wonderful experiences. We stand a better chance to pull it off. First, we aim to integrate the resources. For example, on the sales side, we enable more buyers to be able to access those smart home products. Second, on the brand side, we try to enable the brand names to gain insights into the definition of high link and how to use it. Then in terms of the future direction to go for smart home, we also interact and communicate back and forth with those different stakeholders. We are selective in the efforts we try to make. We do not produce household appliances on our own. This is a basic strategy we have. Therefore, we become a wonderful partner instead of a competitor to those OEMs. With that mentioned, we have architecture, namely the chip, edge, device, and a cloud. First, chip. It means we're able to offer chips to you as a household appliance manufacturer. For example, the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth-based chips. This is not like mandatory for you. This is only like a kind of additional choice for your choosing. Second, edge. Edge refers to the routers. Now we develop a better and better routers. On smart and intelligent routers market in China, we're the #1 player already in China. Third, the device, the 1+8 portals and entry. As a car OEM, as long as you integrate SDK, you can work on it as well. So we can do it, other OEMs can do that as well. So for all the resources we have, we try to combine those resources based on the 1+8 entry point framework. Number 4, cloud. We try our best to enable interconnectivity on the cloud for all of our devices. So 3 things we aim to do. Number 1, we enable the customer experience in a journey for interconnected devices. If you have already used a smart home, if you try to connect a piece of device to your home Wi-Fi or network, you may need to scan a code, you need to push a button for a long time. Then after tedious efforts, then finally your device is connected to your network. But that step, it eliminates 95% of the users from the follow-up journey. They will give up. So for our process, we simplify the process. Once your phone is in proximity to the high link enabled device, it will remind you by asking a question. Are you interested in getting connected to your home network? If you answer by saying yes, then it will be connected. Second, there will be control and a connectivity on multiple devices. For example, now one device thinks about how can it be controlled by mobile phone, but we need to think about not only controlled by mobile phone, but controlled by 1+8. Say if there is a smart fan, what if it will be controlled by the watch and by earphones and by loudspeakers and a TV, etc. Right? So we talk about those control enabled on different devices, not only on your mobile phone. The next, the scenario-based interaction for devices. So wonderful user experience is always based on interaction and interlinking. For example, once I open up the lock of the door, then the light will be turned on the corridor for me. Once I open the door into my living room, then the aircon will be turned on. For example, when I'm asleep, if the wristband detects a drop in heart rate, it meaning my body temperature is rising, then the aircon system will be activated to up the temperature to make sure I will not catch a cold. So this is wonderful interlinking across different smart devices. But the hard thing about it, usually there are multiple brains behind it. So how can we connect the dots and break the silos? So that's actually the direction we're working hard trying to achieve. The next, the universalization of a language. In China, with those leading household appliance brands, we're collaborating with them. We're also cooperating with the international branded names across different categories. We try to enable everybody to come up with a basic and easy to use definition. Then we need to make sure that we can be compatible with the lower level connectivity modes like Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Bluetooth. Physics as well as control protocol, we want better interoperability. Then we also need to keep like a custom interface. Say there are 15 control features for this brand for a rice cooker and 20 control features for another rice cooker brand. Then we have a kind of a H+. Then through our development modes, you can develop a H5 page which integrate all the features, no matter whether you have a 15 or 20 features. Then dynamic loading of those features is a possibility. Once your mobile phone is in proximity to the rice cooker, it reminds you, I did discover a branded 102 type rice cooker. Would you like to add it to your network? If you say yes, then on your control list from the cloud, the H5 page will be automatically downloaded to match up with the mode. So we achieve both a standardization and a customization for modes. Therefore, there is a lot of flexibility in breaking the silos and enable intelligent connectivity across your different household appliances. Then the connectivity between GUI and a VUI. We have multiple templates for you to fill out. The GUI is a graphic UI, which is a fit for displays. VUI stands for voice UI, which is a fit for things without display. So with the powerful configuration modules and the templates, you can fill out those templates as per your needs. For example, the lighting bulbs. How can we achieve control with graphics and with voice? Once you fill out those templates, then we get to know how can we allocate them to different devices, for example, on board the vehicle and through the earphones, so on and so forth. One more thing that we are doing, which I think of as unique in the world. In Shenzhen base, we created the Arc laboratory with over 800 square meters. So it tries to land the concept for real for smart home. Development of a smart home is different from app development because for app development is purely based on software. But for smart home, you have to combine software with the physical scenarios. In our laboratory space, there are 4 zones we develop. First, the enablement zone. For any branded name, if you want to make your device more intelligent, then you can visit our enablement zone where we will do a lot of testing for your connectivity features and capabilities. The next, we can mentor you and guide you in modulation and commissioning for 1+8 entry framework, on TV and on other kind of devices. How can you control your intelligent device through multiple terminals? Then your device can be well connected and controlled and commanded on multiple entries. Second, we also try to work on the cross-device enablement experience, mainly to break the brand silos. If you're a brand for aircon and I'm a brand for door lock, how can we enable communication? This is where this experience zone comes in. If you're a door lock developer, with one push on the lock, then how can we turn on the light? Or how can we turn on the speaker, playing music? We try to enable cross-brand communication and interaction. The third zone in our lab is like the hypermarket experience zone because there are distribution channel partners like Gourmet, Suning, and Huawei proprietary outlets for retail sales. These hypermarkets and markets they try to enable better connectivity as well. Therefore, we do good planning for those retail outlets. Number 4, the real estate enablement experience to help real estate developers. So these are our partner brands like Bosch and Toshiba, A.O. Smith, and Media and Haier, etc.
改造的华为门
This is an outlet that we plan to retrofit into to enable better experience. And we'll also connect the different channels. Starting from this year, we'll shift our attention to after sales, to before sales. That is to say, before you settle down in a property, all the things can be pre-adjusted, ready for use as soon as you settle down in that property. And I find myself over time, so I will speed up. We have 14 different vertical atomized services in cooperation with the different partners for them to have access to our platform, to enable interaction, to enable distribution, so that in the future it is more natural for people to have access to the services, and it will be more natural for the partners to get connected to our platform. In the future, all the services, like for example, hailing taxis, ordering food delivery, will be atomized as services. This is the Arc Compiler. Arc Compiler is something that is revolutionary because on the basis of the fundamental Android core, things are developed. It's run by or coded by Java. However, now there is no explanation or illustration needed, and it can be executed right away so that the speed can increase by 60%. It can also support the atomized services, and it is also compatible to the different devices in the different scenarios. AI will be the thing that connects these two planes. We have high AI to start with, or the chip capabilities with 147 computing elements, with the devices, for example, the high voice kit, the high vision kit, and high sensor kits provided as a package to enable the partners for the provision of smart services to the consumers. On top of that, we have the cloud, serving as the service provision platform. This is Shao Yi. In the future, we will support more services through Shao Yi. In the future, Shao Yi can be your personal assistant, it can be your personal trainer in the gym, it could be your driver when you drive, it could be also your secretary when you're in the office. Shao Yi provides you with all these services in the different scenarios, in different roles. This is my last slide. I believe that this is a historic juncture of our times. It is opportune to revolutionize what we do. People see 5G, but we see beyond that. For every juncture of times, it is the game of the brave. It is only the brave that can win and enter the new stage of history. Though those who are not brave will not progress, they will lag behind. So what we will do is to find our direction in the new rounds of competition. That is all that I want to say. Thank you very much for listening.